do you prefer to play your strongest deck, and um, and then once you win with it, you've got lost it, or do you think you should use it as a counter deck or a surprise?
Um, I think particularly because it's only a best of three, you want to make sure that you play your best deck uh, right from the off.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting thing
Ooh,
to note. Ooh, it looks like red yellow burn for Aquablad.
yep. I mean, I don't think that could be anything other than burn. And
And
Kapu going with mono blue, similar to Thormon.
oh, I just realised that we have this. Oh, so you can get the land counter and hand count and deck count by hovering over the card back of each player. That's interesting. Anyway, Aquabad begins with a yellow tile, so maybe his deck is more yellow centric than most red yellow burns that we see on ladder. And he also has the blood obelisk and the derelict tower,
Hmm.
like we were talking
Yeah,
before.
yeah. I think maybe the Malevolent Spirit opening might just be due to the unfortunate nature of his hand, because a yellow focused burn doesn't seem to be the most likely option here.
Yeah. So, do you think Cappuccino will move towards or away from the malevolent spirit here? Yeah. So he plays
Hmm.
Battletoads and the Sunken Tower, but he goes towards the red tile and away from the spirit. How do you feel about that?
So the fact that he's gone away, I don't like. He's not got any way of actually clearing the 3/3 with a toad like a Phantasm
Yeah.
or Aurora. So I think maybe that was the better decision. Plus, he gets a lot more freedom down this side now.
Yeah. Um, Maybe he's thinking that these sorts of lists usually have more red creatures, so most of the play will actually be done by the right hand side. So he decides to try and just get a toad double collecting on the right hand side. And Aquabad still has to be worried about things like Phantasm and Banquet,
Yeah,
even though
yeah. I
Aurora's
mean,
not there.
playing rares and epics, you're very, very unlikely not to use Phantasm since it's such a powerful and versatile card.
Yeah. So interestingly, we see the Derelict Tower from Aquabad, um, which can actually start pinging off this Sunken Tower and denying him activations. And the Unbound
Wow,
on the 4/4
wow.
is going to give the Wave Crash Colossus. That's going to be really difficult for Aquablad to deal with, particularly with the hand that he has. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and I guess this is the problem with having 5 structures in your deck if all you draw is structures.
Yeah, I mean, he's managed to draw three and he's still got 24 cards in his deck. So I think this was just really unfortunate for him. And
Yeah,
you've got to
but
just feel sorry.
so do you use Derelict Tower to ping off the Ruby Fish, or do you just try and get the trade and get double Blood Obelisk activation? It doesn't seem that way. He's just gonna ping off the Ruby Fish to deny Two-Faria for his opponent.
Yeah, this leaves him in a really tough spot. He's got one card in hand and he can't play it for another 2 turns at
Yeah,
least.
I quite like this because he does need to get as many coloured lands as possible very quickly so that he can get that Scourge Flame out.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
it was a very unfortunate starting hand for him, and I do feel like it's going to be a struggle for him to get back from this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got nothing to deal with this 7/7. And he's resource starved now. He's got no Feria. I don't want to write him off here, but yeah,
Well,
he can't say
he just
anything.
drew Last Nightmare, so although he might not be able to do it this turn, he may actually be able to deal with the 7/7 next turn. And if
Mm.
this Malevolent Spirit gets to double collect without um, anything contesting it, maybe he has some sort of way back into the game. But I think that's a very slim and very hopeful. But maybe there's a chance that he can come back from his really poor draw.
I mean, after he plays Nightmare, he's gonna have to deal with the Phantasm, and then it could even get buffed with the Banquet from Chef. It's just
Yeah,
so heavily in favor of Capu so
it's
early on. We
it's going to
wonder
be
if he
very
can come
difficult.
back. Hmm.
So, what do you think? Do you think that this is a deck building problem? Um, so if you know that you have to commit to 5 structures at least in your deck, how many cards which require 6 lands do you really want to be playing? Is that too
Hmm.
many? And is that going to statistically give you too many clunky hands? What are your
I
thoughts?
don't think I don't think Aqua has necessarily made a mistake going for this sort of traditional burn with a few elements of a few of these structures, but I think he just got really unlucky with his draws.
Yeah,
Okay,
now he
that's an
gets a
Axe
draw
Grinder.
that
That's weird.
he would have liked early on.
Yeah, yeah. This is what I'm saying. I just think he's not quite managed to get the right cards that he needed.
Yeah, he's definitely been very unfortunate. Um, Capu with an army of toads and a Triton Chef, bringing up the rear.
But what's going to be really great for Kapu is he can actually deal. Let's just work this out. I think it's going to be 5 plus 9 to face this turn, just with a Phantasm.
And we see another Queen's Guard in blue, um, which is going to be interesting. I think,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Um, there's no way he missed lethal with Banquet, no. So yeah, this seems the obvious play. And as we were saying, I think it's very difficult for Aqua to ever
Yeah,
come back
that's
from
going to
this.
be a concede from Aquablad. That's unfortunate for him. But what's going to be really interesting is that Aqua has to keep his deck, so we're actually going to see
Aqua
something.
doesn't have to keep his deck.
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah, but
So
Capu has to switch.
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so what do you think Capu is going to switch to? Oh, it looks like a red control kind of deck. And
Yeah, yeah.
Aqua
It looks kind
switches
of like
to
the
blue as well.
standard red control
Yeah.
from way back a few patches ago now.
Yeah,
And
so red control generally has moved more towards kind of a burn variant using kind of Bloodsingers and
yeah,
Grimguards. Um, but those aren't available in this format because they're commons. So maybe just a more regular red control is actually okay. You are still able to use axe grinders. You can use ground shaker and bomb slingers. And yeah, I think red control can be very strong just because ground shakers are gonna deal damage to structures. You have derelict towers, which aren't too bad. As we talked about, devouring plants are probably one of the stronger structures. I'm really wondering whether anyone brought Imperial Engineer to activate production effects.
yeah. I think the fact that we've emphasized this 5 structures rule means there were some crazy combinations with structure decks, but they require a lot of legendaries to give them a lot of
Yeah,
power. So that might be the reason that people aren't running them.
yeah, it's unfortunate that Magda isn't available here. And Capu can very happily just play the Kingsguard right next to the well, knowing that Aurora isn't in the format.
Yeah,
So he's going
yeah.
to get value from this.
I
Who do you
mean,
th- who?
it's interesting to see the fact that there's no legendaries that can be played, so no one has to sort of play around Aurora or
Yeah,
Garridan.
who do you think is favored in this matchup? Red versus blue.
So I'm I'm not sure because the it depends whether what kind of stuff Kappa is running. So let's say he's running a Firestorm, that will immediately take out like a lot of the blue tokens that he could have on board, for example.
Yeah,
But if blue takes control of these wells, red has a really hard time to sort of get its resources back up and to stabilize.
Kapu's in a pretty difficult spot here, I think. Not because he's behind or anything, but none of the options seem particularly appealing. He can use Ground Shaker just as a body, or maybe he can use... Oh, he doesn't even have this option, so it's just trying to work out what lands to play. Do you think you want to go aggressive, or just try and farm the 2 wells on the right, or maybe get some lands for a collector on the left-hand side?
Um, I think well control is important if you're playing against blue because you don't want them to take it too much. So I would probably say he should, yeah, stick to that side and keep at it because he knows that this King's Guard can't be taken out because if the only way he could do it is a Phantasm or with a Royal Judge.
Yeah.
So
Oh, the Royal Judge is an excellent pickup here for
yeah,
Aquablad.
he can actually kill it now.
Yeah, so he can kill it. He only gives his opponent 1 card from the draw. Because
Yeah,
punishment deals 5 damage to neutral creatures, this
yeah.
King's Guard is going to get punished. So I think I'd like to see the Judge in between the 2 wells here.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
definitely.
immediately unbound it to play around Ground Shaker.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So yeah, this is a really nice
So,
spot from Aquablad. And now he has a random 7-drop, which is going to be a Battle Rager in between the wells, double collecting. And that's unfortunate for Aquablad. I believe that's the lowest health creature in the game. Or lowest
yeah,
health 7 cost in the
he
game.
could have got an Apex as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So because of that and Kapu actually having the answer, he's not going to be able to set up a Triton Banquet on the random 7 cost. So this is really difficult now for Aquablad to get back in the game.
I mean, he's not really got any sort of efficient harvester that he can put down at this point.
No,
And
so what's going to happen is he's hoping that his Gabriel Cistern is going to count kind of as a harvester, harvesting 3 per turn, and it's going to work out for him in the short term at least.
if you're Capu, do you try and like search for an answer to the cistern, or do you let Aqua sort of have the value that he
I
can
think
get?
you have the Ground Shaker in hand, so he's only going to get 6 Failure from what he paid 4 Failure for, so I think you're not too dissatisfied with that. I think he's debating whether to just play Phantasm or just play Royal Judge. Okay, he's going to go for the Colossus. Yeah.
Well, if he's against, because he knows he's against red, which has no direct removal other than this Lord of Terror, I think it's not too bad a decision.
Yeah, I quite
But
like this
obviously,
play. I think, particularly if you have Triton Banquet and Royal Judge and Phantasm in your hand, you really want something on board to use those cards on.
yeah.
So he's actually going to be able to take over the control of the whole left-hand side here with this Banquet, his favorite card in the game.
So, yeah, he's just going to go for the Banquet and clear. And if you're Cappuccino, what do you think he just sort of drops a Ground Shake or drops a Lord of Terror?
Dropping Lord of Terror on the left is going to be really strong.
But
this does have jump.
Judge.
Oh, yeah, the Judge as well. That's a very good point.
I think he just collects with his 8/7, protects it, kills the 1/5, and now he's threatening 8 to face.
Yeah, I really
but
like the...
he does have a situation.
Yeah, I really like the draw from Aquablad there because his hand's quite clunky again. Unfortunately, he picks up the Wave Crash Colossus. And Kapu, knowing that he's playing Wave Crash Colossus, has denied him this Failure. Oh, he misses 1 Failure here. Possibly because he wants to keep this in a position where it can come back and defend.
Yeah.
But this could be crucial in terms of getting actual procs for the Wave Crash Colossus.
I I did prefer having it go a bit more aggressive because you know there's no way the 5/6 is going to hit this turn, and he probably doesn't have an answer if he just dropped a Lord of Terror.
Hmm.
Because if he had jumped the 8/7 over, Cap would have had to drop a Lord of Terror next to his face, which wouldn't have been the best play for him, especially because it eats up his
Yeah,
Faria for the turn.
and he would have actually been able to play a Mirror Phantasm on his opponent's Lord of Terror if he wanted to do so,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
set that up aggressively. If he
yeah,
had collected that extra Faria last turn.
yeah. So, what do you think about Luduan and Mystic Beast in this deck?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's probably something that he wanted earlier. Oh, that must hurt. Again, he misses the Faria
Mm.
from the Wave Crash Colossus having jump. So maybe that's just a being someone that doesn't like Banquet so much. Maybe that's just not a interaction that he's used so much, so he forgets that he does actually have the jump, which is perfectly understandable.
Yeah, I also think maybe he's getting a little bit frustrated with the fact that he's just losing the board.
Yeah, I think I could definitely see why he'd be pretty frustrated with his draws. Um,
And yeah,
yeah,
that's going to
it
be the
looks
game.
like Cappuccino is going to take this 2-0.